up, everybody? In traffic, heading home, but then I gotta go back to work. So I'm doing a show with Robert Farrell tonight at 8:30 Eastern time, if you can check it out. But before the show happens tonight, the premise of what Robert and I are trying to bring forth that is different from other channels and different from other people that are teaching the Word of God is that it's easy to say that Jesus made his life a living example of what would happen to the Word, but when you listen to Jesus speak in the canon, he's always referring to himself and acting as if it's not really him that is dealing with these things. Like he's always like talking like almost as if he's talking about himself from like a far away, like a third person or something. He's always like for instance, Jesus was being tempted by Satan, and Satan said to Jesus, take these two stones, the canon, the two testaments, and make them into bread. And bread is a key for Jesus, the Word of God. So when Satan is tempting Jesus and says, take these two stones and make them into bread, what he's telling him is, take these two testaments and turn them into something that is edible to the spirit, and do it now. And Jesus says man doesn't live on bread alone. So man doesn't live on just the canon, but man lives on every word that comes from the mouth of God. So number one, Jesus is saying right there that he's God because he is the mouth of God. He is the Memra, the word that spoke all of us into existence. And we, through his breath, share life together. That's why we should love our enemies, because they're sharing the same breath of life that Jesus breathed into all of us at the beginning of time. And when mankind first stood up on the earth after being formed out of fine dust, Jesus, he breathed life into Adam. And this is a common thing known in all of Christianity, that Jesus breathed life into us. But the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic is actually very much different than in English. It has nothing to do with the English at all. It's, in fact, sometimes it makes me wonder if they totally changed it on purpose. And yet I say the Lord's Prayer and I feel uplifted. So I think there's a desire to say things, and the Spirit steps in and speaks on your behalf of what you really are trying to say. And what I just said I've read before, but it's a truth that you can feel and see and touch, and like it's a real thing. So when you read, whether it's in just the English translation or transliteration, or you read it in the Aramaic says that we are unified by this holy thing that unites us all, which is the breath of God, which is Jesus breathing that life into us, because he is life. He's the one who was and is to come, unlike the Antichrist, who was, who is, it was not, and is, or something like that, which is seeing that the Antichrist, like, he hasn't lived forever or something like that. He's not omnipotent like Jesus and God are. He's not like that. He's something that was created, and he in fact says in I think it's the sayings of the questions of Bartholomew. It's like the Testament of Bartholomew or something like that, and the disciples asked Jesus to bring Satan out of the underworld, and so the earth rolls up like a scroll, which is a flat earth thing, and Satan is brought out, and they all cower in front of Satan because they're freaking out. And then Jesus says to Bartholomew, go step on his neck. So Bartholomew steps on his neck, and by the power of Jesus, Bartholomew had the power to make Satan tell Bartholomew anything that he wanted to know. And so all the disciples had all these questions, and Bartholomew asked them on behalf of Mary and the disciples, and then Satan said, if I could, I'd kill you all in 3 days. I'd kill the whole world in 3 days if I could. I hate you all. Basically, like paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it. And Satan tells him, Jesus and God were there when I woke up. So this reality that we're living in is like some type of holographic matrix that the devil created through having intercourse with human people. Just like in Genesis 6, when God destroyed the earth because the giants were made from the watchers having sex with human women in Genesis 6, which was prophesied by Enoch, a punishment upon the giants because of the fallen angels' sins. The children of the fallen angels would be punished to only live 500 years and then be wiped out. And Jesus left one of the giants left, Og of Bashan, who's in 5 books of the canon, 22 verses, where this one giant, because that one giant survived, he went and had sex with other people in all the lands, like all the ites that aren't Israelites in the Bible, all those ones, they're all fallen angel DNA giants, like that were the progeny of Og of Bashan mixed with human people after the flood. And the reason God left one giant alive is to show his power to destroy all the giants, the 400,000 giants that were on the earth, except for one. That was God showing his power. And Og promised that he would help Noah, but he didn't. After a certain time, he somehow was able to help Abraham as well, and procured Rebekah for Isaac somehow, being named Eleazar in the Bible, but they don't tell you that that's Og of Bashan. And that's how we get the giant wars of Moses and Joshua and all that, is because they had been breeding during the 400 years that Israel was in slavery. And God allowed the people of Israel to remain in bondage for a little longer than they had anticipated towards the end, because he was preparing a wonderful place for the people to go to, because things weren't really ready yet as far as like the horticulture and all these different things. And everything I'm saying I read in like the Legends of the Jews and the history of Israel, and like the Keber Nagash, the writings of Josephus, like all that stuff. So like I'm not just like making up anything I'm saying. It just might be in a Boston vernacular, and it might also be in, you know, my own paraphrasing, so you can just get the picture quick. But tonight we're going to be talking about what I just said. We're going to be talking about how Peter represents the Christians, James represents the Jews, John represents the elect. So when you see these people doing things in the Bible, like Peter denying Jesus 3 times, it's because the Christians denied Jesus 3 times during the 4th century tribunals of the councils of Nicaea, Trent, and all those other councils. Then in the 16th century, when Martin Luther removed certain books that were not supposed to be removed, because they're supposedly Catholic books, but they're not, because Catholics don't own the Bible. No one does. We do as humanity, because it's the letters God wrote to his people, his children that he made in his image. That's the truth. So if you want to know the metaphoric language that explains all this, whether you're an atheist, witch, Satanist, doesn't matter. If you can read, if you can understand basic English, then you can understand that Jude and Peter are defending Enoch, who was being marginalized as a false prophet. That's why we call the book pseudepigrapha, which means false writings or false datings or whatever you want to call it. They're calling it false. And Enoch, 7th from Adam, prophesied, making him a prophet. It says in the book of Jude. So if the half-brother of Jesus says that Enoch was a prophet 7th from Adam, he's referring to him that way because Cain had a firstborn son named Enoch who did magic. So Jude, half-brother of Jesus, is telling you that Enoch, 7th from Adam, was a prophet, and we should listen to what he says, and Peter defends him. And if you combine Jude and Peter, 2 Peter, it gives you a third book defending Enoch, who was one of the 2 witnesses who will be fighting the Antichrist in Israel with Elijah the Tishbite, both of which men were translated to heaven directly in a rapture. This is what is true. This is what is coming upon the earth. This is what you cannot fight, you cannot change. And the world that we know it as Christendom, Christianity, is going to be flipped upside down. And if you want to know about how that is possible and why Jesus did this and why Jesus put this metaphoric language into the Bible, that's what we're going to teach you tonight. God bless you. Have a great day, and Jesus be with you.